What's up, guys? This is for some of you on the forums, and really anyone who owns a Optima EX or SX turbo that has the issue with the wastegate actuator not properly working at times due to a misfunction in the voltage output. I've already completed it, so I'm not going to do it step by step on this video, but I'm going to show you. I mean, it's probably about a 20-minute fix, 30 minutes at tops, depending on your level of expertise with cars. So I'll go ahead and point everything out to you. The first thing you do is on this side, obviously, you remove this. There's a bolt over here. It's a 10mm bolt, the left heat shield. You remove that, which actually will not fully remove that side of the heat shield. There is a bolt underneath that on the back side of the turbo. You can remove that if you want. Trust me, it probably will take you 15 or 20 minutes to get down in there and properly remove it. So removing that top 10mm bolt right there on the left, that's sufficient enough. You can actually manipulate that heat shield a little bit. There's some flexibility to it. That will certainly give you enough room. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing that you do is on the actual turbo, on the wastegate, wastegate actuator rod, you'll see a nut on the very end, and it's a 10mm nut. All you need to do is loosen that. I just loosen it like 3 full turns. That's all you do on that side. Now you got to come over to the other side. The next thing that you do is you'll see right there with a light shining on it. That is the motor side of the wastegate actuator. Okay. And so it's not mechanically controlled like older internal wastegates on stock turbo cars. This has got an actual motor. And what you need to do is there's a 10mm nut on that side. You can see it on the very end. And all you do is remove it. Some people can get confused that it's a lock nut. It's not a lock nut. Okay. You just remove that nut completely. Be careful. I mean, it's threaded a decent amount, so it'll take a little while to get off. It's actually pretty deceiving. It took a bunch of turns to get it off, but take your time getting it off, because if you don't catch it when you remove it, that's a pretty essential piece of hardware right there. If you lose that down below, I mean, if you're lucky enough to retrieve it, great. If not, you're in kind of deep shit. So once you remove that, you can actually take off the actuator rod on that side. You can kind of see on the rod that there is an actual ball joint and it pivots. So what you need to do is then slide that off. Okay, when you slide that off, that arm will come completely off. So on this side, the arm is completely off, and on the other side, it's still connected to, the rod is still connected to the actual wastegate. Hold on, there's a freaking bug on my arm. Sorry about that. And so what you need to do is just start your turns, okay? Depending on the voltage reading, that you're going to have anywhere from 4.6 to 4.8 volts. 4.8 volts really requires about a turn and a half to 2 turns. So you're going to turn that rod clockwise. It'll turn easily because you loosen that nut on the other end. You are essentially shortening the rod. Okay. Now, I should have prefaced this, but obviously you want to tap into the actual harness, which is over here, and you can see that yellow wire on that harness. That's what you have to tap into to read the proper voltage. Now, some people put some pin or a needle into the actual yellow wire. I didn't like that. I mean, you don't know, you can't really see it going in there. You don't know if maybe it pierces the actual yellow wire. I don't like that. So some of you, were kind of criticizing my method, saying, "Oh, well, the dealership's going to freak out," but whatever. This purple wire over here, I actually made a test wire. So essentially, it's coming off of that yellow wire, and I had it capped off, but I just put some electrical tape on it and zip tied it to basically where you would hoist the motor out. There's a mounting point for an engine hoist, and I just zip tied it to that. This actuator, I mean, everyone knows that not every, I mean, you didn't pull off the lot and experience this problem. Usually people experience it 4,000, 9,000, 20,000 miles down the road. That means that it's coming out of adjustment, right? So, you know, theoretically, this will come out of adjustment again. And, you know, it'd be nice to kind of just have that test wire there to make, you know, for future readings with a multimeter. So it's really easy. And then obviously, once you've completed the turns, it's kind of just trial and error. You make maybe a half a turn with a rod clockwise, always clockwise, to go down in voltage. Just, you know, if you're at 4.8 volts or 4.6 volts, do, you know, a full turn and a half or so, and then, you know, get your reading and then go from there. But once you're done and you're satisfied with your actual, the reading, you know, if you have it anywhere between, you know, 4 and 4.2 volts, then you need to make sure you carefully tighten back again that nut over here on the turbo side. It's very sensitive, so you really want to hold the rod while you're tightening the nut, and you want to keep a close eye on the multimeter to make sure that you're not going up or down in voltage. So it's reverse ordered. So you just tighten it down, and then on the other side, put the that pivot joint back on, and tighten the 10 millimeter bolt back on the end. Here's a huge step, or not step, but a huge point to kind of a side note. When you put that 10 millimeter bolt back on that motor side, make sure you hand tighten it. If you tighten it as hard as you can, you will break the gears inside the motor, and you'll start to feel resistance, and it's an unusual resistance. That's because you're working against the gears in the motor. So make sure that that's you know, not over tightening it. And then obviously the 10 millimeter bolt goes back on the heat shield. As far as you know, performance goes and everything like that, before, what was happening for me is if I turned on to accessory and I didn't turn the car actually on the motor, and then let's say I cut off accessory so nothing was going on, and then I turned the car on, like turn the actual motor over, I would get a check engine light immediately. So basically the computer was saying, okay, the motor isn't on, I'm registering over 4.2 volts, throwing code, and it was bad. But now it's fixed. Never have any issues. I could turn the actual you know, accessory on and off all I want. I would never throw code. I will tell you that performance is certainly, I wouldn't say it's regressed, but you know, everyone who goes in and gets the TSB 110 or the 104 that complains about loss of power, there certainly is. It's not loss of power. The low end just doesn't feel as responsive. It's not significant. I mean, it's not to the point where you want to trade your car in, but it is less responsive on the low end. So I would say, you know, it doesn't spool as quick. You know, it still spools pretty low. I mean, it's some small turbo, so. But you know, I mean, that's what you sacrifice. You know, a little performance for, unfortunately, making sure that the car is mechanically sound and that there's no issues. So that's my kind of impromptu how-to on the wastegate actuated fix. You know, I know some of you have your own different variations of how to fix it, and you know, if they've been successful, that's great. But you know, I know some of you were asking for a video, and so that's it.